Hello, everyone. I've got some advice for the new foundation year one doctors. Now, having worked on the wards for the last 8 years of my medical career, I thought I'll share with you some do's and don'ts of your FY1 year and some things that I've learnt by doing the job for the last few years. First of all, congratulations for doing so well and finally starting and embarking on your career as doctors. It is a huge milestone in your life, and you can finally be called Doctor whatever. It's just something that you should be so proud of and something that you should really pat on your back for because with the current systems, trainings, exams, you've done so well to get to this point. It absolutely shows so much resilience that you have to maintain throughout the 5 to 6 years of medical school, with the intense pressure that's put on us with all the extra signatures that we need in terms of getting things signed off. So well done. That's the good news. The bad news is nothing stops here. This is just the beginning. As the new F1 on the ward in August. Hopefully, you should have already been contacted by your trust that where you're about to start your new jobs, and they should be trying to get your paperwork and everything sorted for you. They will usually ask lots of documents from you, so things like your provisional GMC certificate, your degree, so your medical degree certificate, your bank details, forms that you will need to fill for HR, things like your personal details, emergency contact, um, your previous jobs, and so forth. And you will need some to provide some ID paperwork. You will also need to provide the occupational health forms, which will include things like vaccination, hepatitis, HIV, blood tests, and things. Now, if you have been a medical student in the UK, you should have your vaccination record and your HIV and hepatitis bloods already done by the medical school or the trust that you were linked to during your medical school. So you can very easily get a copy through them. So it saves you having to get these records from your GP or having these blood tests done again. Um, and you will need to declare any health conditions, if you have any, or any medications that you take, and all the necessary important work. One piece of advice on all these forms is please keep a copy of these forms with you. Don't just send the only copy of whatever you've got, because trusts have a large number of people joining every year, and they can lose the forms. At least if they've lost a form and you've got a copy, it's easier to replace it, saves you from having to hassle and stress about finding a completely different ID document or something. My other advice is make sure you fill the paperwork in as soon as it's sent out to you. Do not delay this, because the longer you delay sending it, the longer it takes them to process it, and hence it delays your registration, your and also then your payment. For your payment, everything will not be ready for the end of the month. And there have been F1s in the previous years who have not been paid on time just because there were delays in paperwork being submitted, either from their side or from the HR. So just try and be very particular about what is needed, send it through straight away. Um, so hopefully you'll have no trouble with getting your registration and hopefully a salary at the end of the month. Now, what is FY1 year all about? Now, whatever you learn in medical school is very different, and it does not prepare you for FY1 by any means. And that is just my experience from working the job. So an F1 year is very different to what is required of you as a medical student. So it's very practical. You need to be very hands-on. You need to turn up firstly to work every single day. There's no more virtual learning online, through the apps or through Microsoft Teams. Um, it's a lot about observations, so seeing what your seniors do and then learning from them. So how they document. Now, important thing about documentation, which as an FY1 doctor, you will be doing a lot for your seniors. So important to date and time it, important to write who are you writing this documentation for. So it might be a ward round review, it might be notes that you're making in clinic. So important to write the consultant name or the registrar name on top, and then followed with a brief history of the patient's presentation or why they're in hospital, followed by your management plan, and if there's any changes in the management plan. So um, you also would like to then document the patient's EWS score, which is basically their respiratory rate, their heart rate, their temperature, their oxygen saturations, so all and their blood pressure. And in FY1 year, there's a lot of learning. It's a very steep learning curve. So from your day one, and even in your shadowing period, you will start to pick up a lot of things. You'll learn lots of new systems of prescribing, doing discharge summaries, how to check a patient observations, how to order blood tests, how to check blood tests. These are very important things that you should know before you formally start on your wards, because this will make your life easier. If there's anything that you don't know, then you need to know where to ask for help. The best people to ask for help will either be your seniors, so your registrars and your consultants, or it will be also the nurses on the ward could help you to a certain extent. And then the junior doctor administrators, who are basically people responsible to give you your ID card, your passwords for your different systems, that you will need the login details for to be able to access all this useful information. In the FY1 year, it's very important to be organized because as you will follow your team on the ward round, there'll be lots of jobs that will be created during the ward round. Now, this ward round can last from anywhere between 45 minutes to about 6 hours. It's impossible for you to remember everything that you need to do from the ward round by just keeping it all in your memory. That's absolutely impossible. You're bound to miss information. Now, this information may not be very significant to you, but to your senior making this management plan, it can be very important. Also, in that patient's care and management, it could have a huge impact. So keep a ward round list with you, so you can write the jobs on this list as you go along. So if say you saw a patient in bay one, bed one, and the jobs are that you need to do a blood test and order a scan, you just write, to take bloods or a scan next to the patient's ward entry on your handover sheet, so you know, and it then reminds you that's what you need to do. After the ward round, you want to then write these jobs on a nice clear piece of paper. So again, just so you know you don't miss anything out and you can tick them off as you go along. Teamwork, it's absolutely essential in medicine, to be able to work in a team. Now, this is not just your colleagues, as in your registrar or your senior colleagues like your consultants. It's also working with your HCAs and your nurses and your matrons and nurse in charge, your midwives. It's absolutely crucial. So if you build a good rapport with your team will help you. So if say you want to take a blood test or you were struggling or you didn't know where to ask for help, These people have been on the wards, working on the wards for a long time. They have encountered similar situations previously and have helped other people out. So there's no reason that they will not help you out. So if you're nice to them, if you ask in a polite way, they are bound to help you and get you out of that situation. And it could be a simple question that you don't want to ask your registrar because you don't want to look like you don't know something. But you could go you could check with your HCAs or your nurses, especially the logistics of how things work. So for example, if a patient needed an urgent scan, now you will be able to request a scan, but you wouldn't know how to organize the porter, for example, on the ward, and how to actually take the patient down. So that's where these HCAs and nurses will be able to give you some information or they'll be able to organize all that for you, so that you don't have to worry about that bit. So they can be very, very, very helpful. Now, this is one thing that I didn't do very well on when I did my FY1 year, and that's maintain a work-life balance. So it's very easy that during your FY1, you will just work, 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 and work. Now, that's the wrong way or the wrong approach to doing FY1 year, because yes, you will get through the year, and yes, you will finish the year, and you'll be signed off, and you'll get to FY2 because majority do get through and they're absolutely fine, but you will lose the fun out of it. You will lose the life out of it. And looking back, you'll never have happy memories about FY1 year. So I would say that yes, work hard because it's a new job, and there's a lot of learning, and naturally you will have to put the effort in to be able to learn the job, but also have a life outside work. Next thing is what kind of shifts you'll be working. So um, you'll either be doing a on call, which is during the daytime, which was generally from 8 a.m. to half 8. It's a 12 and a half hour shift. The actual work is probably 12 hours, and then handover tends to be at 8 p.m. So the last half an hour would be the handover. Similarly, when you start 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. would be your handover time, and then 8 p.m. would be where you hand over to the night team. Night shifts normally start between 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Now this is generally um, some of the Foundation E1 doctors don't do night shifts, so check with your trust if you are required to do night shifts or not. But again, at 8 a.m. it's handover, where you will be handing over to the day staff. Day shifts normally are between 8 and half 5. There is a special term for the shift between 5 o'clock to 8:30, which is called twilight, which is part of your day on call, but it can be called as twilight as well. Um, Hospital canteens don't serve great food, and that's my observation and experience after having worked in about 6 different trusts around the country. So I would really advise that if you can take some packed lunch with you, that's the healthiest and the most economical, and also tastier lunch, and something that you will look forward to than going to the hospital canteen. Parking. Now, parking is a huge problem in lots of NHS trusts. Try to get your parking permit sorted as soon as the paperwork for it is sent, and try and get there earlier in the morning to be able to find a suitable parking slot. The closer you get to the working hours, the start of the working day, it's very unlikely that you'll find any parking, and that'll just add to the extra stress of having to drive around, park in an area that you don't really know very well, or be late on the wards because you weren't able to find parking. So parking is a huge issue, and if you can nail it by getting your parking permit sorted before you start, and secondly by getting there earlier in the morning so you're not struggling to park or to find a parking slot. Now, for a successful day in FY1, you definitely need a stethoscope. You do need your black pen and I'd say a piece of paper and a bottle of water or some sort of sweet for a sugar fix or a gum or whatever you prefer. So this is what you really need for just being able to survive a day in FY1. Um, Most of your registrars and most of your trainees around you and your consultants will be very helpful to you. They'll understand that it's your first job and you're learning on the job. But you also need to show some initiative and ask questions when you're not sure of something. If you keep quiet and and struggle, nobody's going to know and nobody's going to call you a hero for it. Um, but if you did ask for help, people are willing to help because they know it's your first job and you will definitely require this help and training. So ask for help. I would really encourage you to ask for help if you didn't know anything. Um, no one bites, so please do ask anything you want to ask. Even if somebody looks like they are unapproachable, you have the right to ask a question. So please ask a question if you're unsure. If you're unsure of which scan to order, just ask the senior, I'm sorry, I've not done this before. Which scan would you like me to order? Which blood test do you want me to do? And so forth. And it'll only be a matter of time before you will really know these things very well, and you will not need to ask for as much help. So good luck with your Foundation Year 1 training. It's a tough year in a lot of ways because there is absolutely lots and lots of new learning, and you are the most junior member of the team. But if you stick around with your seniors, and if you are nice, then generally people are very nice to you, which means being polite, having the general etiquettes of work, which is, turning up on time. If you're late for any reason, just inform your team through WhatsApp, through text, ring the ward if you don't have any number for any seniors. Just ring and let the ward know that I am the Foundation Year 1 doctor and I'm running whatever 15 minutes late because of parking, because of whatever. So that the ward knows and everybody is informed and they're not having to like look out for your number and having to worry and stress whether is there somebody coming and attending the wards today. So just by being polite and courteous, you can have an amazing FY1 year with absolutely no problems. The team will love you, and remember, you will need some team observation forms done by this multidisciplinary team that you work with. So you will need some nurses, some midwives, consultants, registrars. Some of the admin staff to do some feedback forms for you, at least maybe twice, in your 3 rotations. So you will need some feedback from this team. So being nice to them will mean that hopefully they will respond in the same manner to you, and you will have no problems in your FY1 year. Good luck. I hope you found this video useful. And if you would like me to do any specifics about any part of the training, then please do let me know by leaving a comment in the comments below. And do give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.